Welcome to the R.O.Hammer Company's podcast. Today I'm joined by Shantanu from Prodigal AI. Shantanu and his team are doing some very exciting things in the consumer finance space. I hope you enjoy the episode. All right. Thanks for joining, Shantanu. I appreciate it. Been looking forward to this conversation for quite some
Likewise.
time. How are you doing? How are you doing today?
Doing great. It's a beautiful day out in sunny Mountain View, and I appreciate you having me. I'm excited for this conversation as well.
Absolutely. So our viewers, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you're from, and a bit about your story.
Absolutely. So I have been at the intersection of bringing technology to financial services for the better part of the last 2 decades. Grew up and studied primarily in India, and a computer science engineer by training. So grew up doing a lot of computer science engineering. Graduated right around the time when the internet was old, but the mobile was like brand new. But right out of school, I kind of ended up doing a lot of work in financial services, broadly speaking, lending, a lot of banking, some insurance, but lending was a big part of it. So coming into my business school at Wharton, UPenn, I realized that I really wanted to be and play at the confluence of how technology is making a difference to how financial services are delivered, experienced by consumers. And been doing that for a while. And that is really something that I'm excited about for 2, 3 reasons. One is technology is extremely powerful. It is the most powerful force shaping our lives day in, day out. And this is even pre GPT and large language models and generative AI stuff. This has been the case. The internet has been definitely a complete game changer. But the internet did not come to financial services in a meaningful way. Maybe till like the 2010s, till after the financial crisis. Everything before that was still a lot of mainframes and stuff. And so in the last decade or so is when both the delivery of financial services over the internet has become a lot more mainstream, as well as a lot of software is seeing a complete overhaul. And that has created a lot of opportunities to deliver very good experiences for consumers, something I'm very passionate about, uh, while actually embracing the force that technology brings, something that we've again grown used to when we think about entertainment, retail, e-commerce. How do you bring some of those forces to make financial services better? Is the second pillar. And then the third pillar is math, right? At the end of it, even if you abstract out the technology, the math is consuming a lot of data. And again, data today is far more important than any time in the last 50, 70 years. And I'm really excited about looking at tables, numbers, brainstorming creatively, and how do we monitor, measure some of these things so that the technology's impact on financial services is more. So I think of it as, data being the brain, the technology being the method of delivering some of those insights, and the financial services being the end goal. And I get to work at the intersection of all three, and that has been super exciting.
It is really exciting. Data is a very important part of our lives, and especially in business these days. When did you know? When did your attraction or your desire to be involved with data begin? And tell us a little bit about that path.
So I always appreciated the power of data. I interned at a lender called Zest Finance. Now they call themselves Zest AI, over a decade ago, and got to kind of enthrall myself with it very, very closely. However, it was really my time at Fundbox which kind of put the whole thing in context, and what was something that the brain understood, or I understood the theory of it, became something that became my heart really grabbed at it, and something I could feel in my bones. When I realized that a lot of lenders across the industry, bar none, spend so much time, energy, money, uh, buying data, cleaning data, acquiring data, right till the point at which they underwrite someone. And they think of it as, hey, that's the end of the transaction in many ways. But then I realized that you spend all of this time and money to kind of get people to that point. Honestly, that's the end of the beginning. And
Yes.
from that point on, the kind of data you get about your consumers, something that helps you help them serve them better, actually just goes up. And really, the systems, the incentives aren't really aligned to understand that data in any seriousness. And so when I was looking at it, I was kind of brainstorming with a lot of friends, thinking we should really do something over this data. And that's when I think it became something that crystallized into, hey, how do you apply machine learning or artificial intelligence to understand interactions between consumers and financial services. These interactions are a lot more voluminous. They have a greater sense of variety, but they also have like these like really, really powerful nuggets to personalize your outreach, to kind of deliver the best offer to your consumers. And once I felt that in my bones, that's when I knew that I had to do something about it and like really make it a full-time commitment to the cause and start what we did right now.
I love it. I would have
Yeah.
liked to have been a part of those brainstorming sessions. It's exciting
It,
stuff.
and
Yeah.
if you remember, even, I mean, just anecdotally, like back in 2015, 20 thereabouts, platforms like Lending Club, Prosper had actually started sharing a lot of data publicly. Lending Club was already like a public listed company,
I
but they
remember
were
when that happened. Yeah.
right. And then in some ways, as part of the marketplace, they would list every loan and give a lot of relevant data about that loan. And then you could track the performance of it over a lifetime. You could get started for as little as maybe $25. So I started dabbling in some of that between my college and my jobs, and realized that, oh my god, this is this is like stock picking, but on a very clear personal debt portfolio. Uh,
Yeah.
and there is even more of it today.
Yes. That's fascinating. I hadn't heard the name Lending Club for quite some time. I guess I'm to be honest. Is that are they still a thing?
They are actually, they have been yeah, I think they went public maybe back in 2014, late
Yes, I
2014.
looked at it at that time. Yeah.
And then they had a bunch of like management changes. The stock catered for a while. The pitch is still obviously like P2P marketplace where anyone can come in and buy loans from and like give out money to other people. Realistically, I think it is still a lot of it is wholesale. So a lot of institutional money is on the supply side of capital. So some of the marketing, some of the positioning has definitely changed. It's still P2P conceptually, but the one side of the peers are all institutions. So it's not like consumer to consumer as much anymore. So that is why I think you and I hear about it a lot less, but they're definitely still around. The stocks actually kind of made a recovery of sorts. It's still publicly listed. So it's quite exciting, but now I think it's a slightly different thing. The other thing that happened obviously is debt consolidation loans became like all the rage for a
Hmm.
while, where people were consolidating credit cards into a single personal loan, and that was something that was quite fashionable to do when interest rates were very low. It made sense, you
Hmm.
know, if you could take a lot of many different credit cards, consolidate them into a personal loan, but the interest rates in the public markets were very low, so you could maybe make an arbitrage there. Since the interest rates have gone up, obviously demand for credit has fallen down across the board. So I think that has also maybe somewhat of a headwind for them, uh, because also it's not as lucrative for people to borrow at 18% as it is for them to borrow at like 12%. That being said, I think it creates a big opportunity for us to really come in and understand again consumers, reduce the cost of serving this. Because once you reduce the cost of serving any lender or loan marketplace, most of those benefits go back to the consumers in terms of reduced interest rate.
Yes. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, and I remember Lending Club at the time was kind of a unique model. It was
It is.
a
Yeah.
novel approach. Yeah. Okay. Interesting. So you get the SBA. You know that, or I'm sorry, you get the MBA
Yeah.
from Wharton. Very impressive. You know that there's opportunity. We want to hear about Prodigal. We're excited to dive into that. But tell us a little bit about your time, kind of a little bit more about your time in the banking industry itself.
Yeah. So I led data science and analytics at a lender called Fundbox, a great team. They were back then mostly in San Francisco and Tel Aviv. The team's been remote since COVID. But that's where I kind of got my first-hand view at understanding the whole back office side of things, or loan servicing and collections, and how that works. I also got to meet a bunch of fascinating people in the broader fintech ecosystem in the Silicon Valley Bay Area, and opened my eyes to possibilities. As someone who grew up in India, I think the credit was almost a taboo, especially the consumer credit. India has some socialist heritage, I guess. So to that extent, I think that became a complete eye-opening experience when I kind of got back into talking to more and more people in the Silicon Valley. So that was kind of my formative time, understanding more about the banking lending ecosystem and what is like a real pain that the industry has.
That's excellent. That's excellent. I'm excited to kind of pick your brain a little bit about Prodigal as well.
Yeah.
Uh, tell us first, how did you choose the name?
So for me, the story of the prodigal son is a story of like redemption, doing the right thing even if it's late, uh, accepting people with changed circumstances, accommodating them, and making them. And so that is something that has always appealed to me. And so to that extent, I thought the name was both a good play on the word prodigious, but also at the same time very much hat tip to the fact that the name was very much a hat tip to the fact that uh, circumstances change, people make different choices, but once they decide to do the right thing, it is a collective responsibility to be there for them, support them, understand their renewed like updated life situation, and do whatever it takes to, in some sense, normalize things going forward. So, in some ways, that was the story. But more importantly, I really am the kind of the prefix pro is being something that was been on my mind, and in many ways, it is a common thread that runs across all of our applications: Pro Insight, Pro Notes, Pro Assist, and now Pro Agent. So it gave us a very clear and easy way to create a family of applications, all sharing the same prefix pro. And obviously, pro itself has a lot of good connotations, and we're able to tie it all together by saying that, hey, this is a family of applications that do a variety of jobs in this space, and in doing so, are able to make the life of a financial services customer of ours much better.
So, Prodigal, brilliant company. I'm a fan. For listeners who aren't as familiar as I am, can you tell us a little bit about kind of, we learned a little bit about your inspiration and your entrepreneurial path, but tell us what the core products are, kind of who your core customers are, and the problems that you're solving.
Yeah, we are a machine learning platform or an intelligence company for loan servicing and collections. That's the heart of it. We are a system that gives you recommendations to make your business better, increase revenue, reduce cost, boost margins, drive productivity. And all of these jobs that are done either by your agents, it could be done by your website, which is also an asset, or it could be done by someone in your back office, or things that we want to bring intelligence to. So again, we are a intelligence company for loan servicing and collections. Our specific brand of intelligence very clearly double clicks on interaction that you're having with your consumers. So any financial service, any lender, any bank, any credit card company ends up working with millions of consumers every single month, every single year. And the idea is these millions of consumers are telling you something. They are telling you something when they open your email and don't do anything about it. They are also telling you something. When they come in your website, look at a couple of offers and leave, they're also telling you something. When you have a very prominent CTA button that says make payment now, but then they go on to click on the terms and conditions link, they're telling you something. So people are telling you something all the time. And our brand of intelligence turns all of those things into insights that in turn allow us to serve them better. So at the heart of it, again, we are an intelligence company for loan servicing and collections.
That's great. That's great. Yeah, I think in the arm industry, I can speak to a bit better than in the banking world because I'm a participant. But I would agree with you. Data collection is becoming hesitant to even say a big part of it, becoming the bottom line. Safe to say that there's a transformation in digital communications is a big piece of that, but kind of to your earlier point, it's really half of the battle now. It's the ability to text an email is no longer you're in the desired state. It's the ability to collect the data and appropriately analyze. And I think there are a lot of agencies, and I'm sure there are creditors that are working on similar models too, to be able to build out propensity to pay modeling, and really just do something meaningful with the data that you're collecting.
Yeah.
Where are you seeing the most traction? I know you're active in kind of both spaces, collection agencies, debt buyers, and then creditors. Who are you dealing with more, creditors or
So,
third-party agencies?
so increasingly, creditors are a very big part of what we do. That being said, the things that are common between them are far more fundamental than the differences between them. So let me explain that. So obviously, the question you asked is a very natural question, and a lot of marketing folks also keep on asking me like, hey, who should I target? But the reality is, once you peer past the business structure and the specifics around how someone, let's say, gets paid or how do they make revenue, the underlying jobs to be done within each of these companies is very, very similar. Again, way more similar to each other than it's different. Lenders have their own servicing teams, or like what is called as early stage collection teams. They also kind of want to engage with the consumer, meet them on their own terms, figure out something that is a resolution, and basically, get some money. That is also true at the very other end of the spectrum, which might be like a late stage collection agency or a law firm, which is exactly what they're trying to do. So again, once you peer past who has what certification, how are they registered, what does their entity look like, and are they majorly a capital play or a labor play, what you really get is the jobs that people are doing focus very heavily on understanding the consumer, learning more about them, listening to what they are saying, and then coming to them with an offer that is a win-win for everyone involved. And so that is the problem that we solve at the heart of it. But to answer your question, we are seeing a lot of interest from creditors, and now these creditors are not just consumer unsecured credit. We are seeing a lot of interest from like secured auto loans. We're seeing a lot of interest from mortgage companies coming to us and saying, "Hey, I need to do mortgage servicing because on behalf of this particular lender." So we're seeing a lot of interest in that space. A lot of BNPLs, which are the other end of the spectrum. If you think of the size of the loan as a spectrum, BNPL ends up being like the very small end, often like less than $100. And the mortgages are the other extreme, which are like could be as high as millions of dollars. So and everything in between. But at the heart of it, the job to be done is the same. Understand what the consumers are saying, understand what they are doing, and turn all of that into insights. We're seeing a lot of demand from the creditors. If I were to make a choice in the questions you say, but we still work with a lot of collection agencies, a lot of law firms, and that is something that we understand really, really well.
Yeah, absolutely. I like how you mentioned that you're trying to meet consumers where they are.
Yeah.
And I guess maybe a very simplified explanation of what you're talking about is using data to remove friction, right?
Correct.
And I like the example of someone is clicked on the pay here button, but then they're opening a link to look at terms. It's
Yeah.
telling you something. Can you give us some additional examples of how you're using the data to kind of deliver what you feel the consumer needs?
Absolutely. Pro Agent is a great example. So Pro Agent allows you at get go meet the consumer 24/7. We've had people come in and pay our Pro Agent on Sunday afternoons. A lot of people, get down to looking at their finances on Sunday afternoons. It's really hard for anyone, a lender, an agency, a creditor, to staff a call center on a Sunday afternoon. But Pro Agent is always available to be at the beck and call, service, take revenue, close an account. Everyone in this industry knows that like a Sunday slips into a Monday, there's always a chance that the money is gone. You're not going to get it, right? So it's not just about getting it a day sooner on the consumer's convenience. It is also about getting it at all versus not maybe getting it. So all of those things create an opportunity where we've used data. We've used data to understand, hey, how do we relate to this consumer? How do we relate to this consumer? What do we know about this consumer that will make them comfortable in a compliant way to complete this transaction. So comfortable, compliant, completion, right? Those are the three things we ask Pro Agent to do. Make the consumer comfortable through empathy. Uh, Obviously, be compliant. Never say something that is ever going to get into anyone into any kind of trouble.
Sure.
But more importantly, like there is a goal completion. Don't forget the goal completion. And once you do that, it eliminates friction. The friction of being wanting to kind of complete a transaction on a Sunday afternoon eliminates that friction. The friction of speaking with someone whose accent you may not understand. Again, as someone who definitely has an accent, it is a very natural worry. I don't even feel like it is unnatural. It is just human tendency. So our ability to meet them in a way that eliminates that friction using technology, another powerful lever. The third thing is a machine is able to compute a lot more options far faster and far quicker than in many cases a human is. And so that creates an opportunity for you to be saying, I can create offers for you by looking at a lot of other information that I might have way faster, way quicker, way more tailored to your personal situation. That's a third inconvenience friction that is eliminated from the process. And so to that extent, back to your question, Pro Agent has really like removed friction by accepting payment 24/7, by being a lot more flexible and meeting consumers where they are.
Yeah, no, that's really great. So are you seeing use of Pro Agent primarily as an inbound, or are you expanding into into outbound as well?
So no, we do both. I think, and both of those things are relevant. I think the inbound use case from a convenience point of view is just mind blowing, right? Because you're meeting the consumer when they are inbounding, so they are clearly like in the right frame of mind. But we're also obviously doing outbound.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I always like to ask when we start talking about AI voice agents. It's obviously applicable to the ARM industry, but becoming more common in really all different types of customer service settings.
Yeah, but I heard something from a senior exec in the industry, and I'm just going to steal it. He said, "Getting machines to speak is not difficult. Getting machines to act and act relevant in a relevant manner is what is difficult." And I was like, that is so well said. In a very
Yeah.
simple way, it is very clearly establishing how is something like Pro Agent, which is an enterprise grade agent, different from ChatGPT's voice mode. It's a very natural question for someone to ask. And this thing says, hey, putting a voice on a thing is easy. Getting it to act smartly in a way that's relevant for your business, I think that's hard. And so to that extent, I think he actually was essentially like building a marketing pitch for us by saying, hey, what you really need to do is not worry as much about synthetic voice, but really think about, like, do you understand the industry? Are your agents as well trained in compliance regulation, state by state laws, as a human agent? And do they have all the tools, mathematical tools? Do they have all the compliance tools? Do they have access to all the documents and files that an agent has to complete the whole gamut of actions?
Yes, and I would imagine that the model is learning
Very
and
good at it.
becoming significantly better over time the more reps it gets, which is
Exactly.
extremely exciting.
Yeah.
So what I was asking is, I've had a couple of guests on this podcast where we've talked about AI voice in a couple of different uses. I think we can probably agree it's not we're not too far off from seeing bots, AI voice bots, more readily accessible for consumers. And we'll be talking about your AI bot that interacts with humans, and then probably an AI bot that interacts with a consumer's bot as well.
Yeah.
How, in your opinion, how far away are we from something like that?
I agree with you. We are not far. The another saying I kind of live by is like the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed,
Yes, of
right?
course. Yep, that's the
Living in
accessibility.
mountain,
Yeah.
right? Like again, being at the frontier is so exciting at times, but then you also at times take it for granted. Like literally being in Mountain View, like a couple of miles from Google's headquarters, I see driverless cars many times every day. My 6-year-old son doesn't even like wonder why it is so special. He just takes it for granted. But the reality is there are like several hundreds of millions of cars that exist, automobiles that exist in the world. Most of them aren't remotely self-driving, right? And so to that extent, I think the future is already here in many ways. It's just not evenly distributed. And so to that extent, we do what you're saying. We are actually starting to see that already, where someone basically on the other hand puts in, if not a full-fledged consumer voice bot,
Yes.
they'll put some prank machine on the other end that says something that is incoherent or times coherent. They're not doing full negotiation and so on. So then maybe it's a gotcha machine. We're seeing that already. So it's already here.
Yep.
It's not evenly distributed. So the question is, how common will it be to see it on the median calls? And I think that maybe is at least several years away. But as our customers who are businesses that are in the loan servicing and collection vertical, let's say third-party collection agencies, we need to start preparing for it as soon as maybe like 2026, 2027 to become more commonplace.
Okay.
There's always also going to be an adverse selection where the first people to adopt a technology at times can be the people who are going to put it to like malicious or nefarious uses. There's always a little bit of that. But common adoption is going to be, I think, like 2 to 5 years away for a variety of reasons. Firstly, a lot of these things aren't cheap.
Yes.
The whole personalized experience isn't straightforward. So again, it's one thing to say that, hey, just hold a call for me, and as long as the music is playing, keep dribbling, and the moment someone connects, loop me in. That's easy.
Yep.
But having someone say that, okay, hey, look, I trust you to negotiate on my behalf, is kind of a little away because it requires a lot of orchestration that may not be possible for the vast majority of people to do.
Yeah. So 2026, 2027, in the grand scheme of things, is not that far away.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like the analogy about the cars too, the driverless cars. That's a really good way to
Yeah.
look at it.
So if you go to Phoenix, you go to LA, you come to the SF, you see driverless cars quite often, but
Yep. I was in Phoenix recently. Yep,
Yeah.
and saw some. Yeah, it's interesting. I agree with you. I think we're probably a ways away from widespread adoption. But if you look at something like ChatGPT, it obviously existed. What drove adoption was that anyone could use it all of a sudden. It was
Yeah.
easily accessible. So we'll get to the point eventually where there'll be a button on your iPhone or your Android in an app, and you'll say, I don't know why I always tend to use Delta. I fly Delta a lot. And it's like, I need to change my flight and their chat is not working or something. So you have to sit on the phone. It's like, all right, bot, call
hold it for
Delta,
now.
complain appropriately, ask for some miles, and then get my flight
Yeah.
changed today and
Yeah.
don't take no for an answer.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to trust them to do that. And I think maybe in our industry, a more common example would be, all right, call this collection agency and ask about this bill, make sure the company's legitimate, ask for an explanation of what the bill is for, when it's from, and then negotiate a payment plan if it is legitimate. That's probably a use case. And then to your point, kind of the more nefarious, I think there are some products or people using more so in the lending space, but
Yeah.
a bot that's been trained with significant amount of case law and knows how to push the right buttons and drive violations would also be kind of
Yeah.
a scary scenario. So
Yeah. I think that's absolutely right. I think that is partly scary. The other thing is, I think the consumer side is not the first thing that we think about. Candidly, we are a software provider primarily to enterprises.
of
That being
course,
said, how the consumer need and the business need is maybe driven even by like very different fundamental things. Business need is driven by productivity gains, by giving 24/7 convenience. The consumer need also is driven not just by the fact that it is saving them time, but also maybe around which is your Delta example. Like, I don't want to be sitting there for like 47 minutes. It is also driven in some cases, especially in our industry, by the feeling of guilt. Guilt is like a very primal emotion that makes us guilt and shame kind of make us do things differently. And if you
I
just
would
see
agree.
like the rise of like avatars, like people have these like crazy avatars on Instagram and stuff. All of those things are essentially people creating a cocoon around themselves that kind of like partly privacy, partly protects their feelings, and we do probably expect maybe that to also drive some of that adoption, which is like, hey, I don't want to feel the stress of speaking with someone who's a collector. I'm going to delegate that feeling of like guilt and shame in a way that someone else does it for me. And so maybe some of that will just show up in that regard where people will there'll be a voice layer that actually does all of the conversation and gives you an offer which you just click. So they've abstracted away any potential feeling of guilt or shame, but just going to present you a few options. You don't feel like you're being mothered to, and we've heard that a lot. I would not be judged I'd rather be judged by a machine than by another human. And you're like, okay, fine, just this is what it is. I don't want to be judged by another person, and that
Yes.
might create the whole consumer side voice box.
Yes. No, that I agree with you on the guilt and shame thing. It is kind of a primal human characteristic, if you will. I would also say probably some guilt and shame on a collection agency who doesn't have the ability to provide a way for someone to pay without calling.
Yeah,
you know,
so
uh,
true.
yeah, yeah. To remove the friction, people should be able to take care of their bills and payments in a way that's most convenient to them, and offer payment
Yeah,
arrangements and all those types of things. And I think I've been doing this for quite a while. I look back even 10 years ago, 20 years ago, man, there was nobody had a payment portal. That was just
right.
unheard of. 10 years ago, started seeing it a little bit, but now we're looking, dynamic changes based on visits,
Yeah,
the ability to structure payment plans through a website. The
yeah,
security surrounding them has also dramatically increased. It's amazing. It's amazing.
yeah.
Yeah.
Uh, no, quite excited for that. I think, and who knows? Tomorrow we'll have those meta, glasses, and we'll have like a virtual agent experience. And I mean, it's only fantasy until it's not.
Yeah, I've also thought about it a little bit too, not to get too far out there, but um, I tend to feel like some of these things are cyclical, almost, where we'll achieve a state where people will again want to speak to a human, and
Right.
it'll be a way to feel emotion, maybe like the guilt and shame thing you're saying. Maybe it'll be perceived differently because people aren't used to interacting with other humans that way too. So
Yeah.
it's just you never know. I, I
And
I think we talk a lot too in this industry about when you're building analytics and those types of things, about making sure that you're not building programming that has to be unwound, and you're leaving room to accommodate data sets that we're
for sure.
not currently aware of.
Yeah.
I think there's going to be a lot of scenarios as this continues to progress, and that won't be unique to the ARM industry. It'll be
Yeah.
unique to the human experience, maybe.
Human, absolutely, absolutely. I think, no, you're so true. Like, I mean, for the longest time, again, I keep going back to this as someone, for the longest time, like, people obviously moved countries, people moved long distances, and they wouldn't see each other for a long time. You kind of never got that whole experience. Then so you maybe did like a phone call, right? Long distance phone call was possible but expensive.
Yes.
And then I think now you do video call all the time. You video call with your friends. You actually may not have seen them in 10 years, or like, and like, you just, but you know what they look like and stuff. So I think some of that human experience is coming back through other forms of technology. The question is what is kind of forced onto you and what you look forward to, like the whole Mark Twain, the apple painting the fence kind of way. And that will be something people think about, like, hey, like how you convince someone that this is just something they need to take care of. Like, no one likes doing taxes, but people do it. And there is a lot of business around getting you to do taxes in a guilt-free, shame-free manner.
Yes, yes, that's very true. This is great points. So where do you see this going? Like, what does you don't have to share any secret sauce, but what's on Prodigal's development roadmap? Like, where do you see the next technologies being?
So great question. And honestly, I think we are actually very, very public about some of these things. We know that execution is hard. I think ideas are a dime a dozen. But to that extent, I think we are very closely like looking at the impact of Gen AI broadly, not just on the voice side, also on an omni-channel chat, like your website chat, your two-way texting chat, and more importantly, having it so that it all cross-pollinates with one another. One of the biggest use cases, how do you get agents to take notes that are better, more structured than what your humans would take? Like, I meant virtual agents to take notes, so that both your human agents are so much better. A human agent should look at it and say, "Oh my God, this note is so much better," and then like, "Ah, a machine wrote it. I didn't realize it." Right? That whole experience creates a great flywheel where the data that is available to humans is firstly not is super relevant, very actionable, it's very well structured. Anytime the human interacts with your consumer, that itself creates more relevant information that makes the subsequent experience better. And we think about that flywheel all the time. Where we are taking that is obviously there's a voice agent, there's a chat, voice chat, texting agent already exists. We obviously need to continuously make them better, make the experience more and more human-like, safe, like I said, comfortable, compliant, and completing a goal. So I think all of those three things across all of these medium is something that we focus on a whole lot. But that's not the end of it. We want our team, our virtual agents, to look at documents. We want them to look at statements. Give the again correct is super important, but give the correct relevant advice to consumers on all of these things all the time. Now, that is something that is actually not even technologically that easy as of whatever, as of 6th May 2025. We think it will be, and we are prepared for it. And so, to an extent, how do you understand docs? How do you understand case law? How do you understand media? Bring it all together in a way that works for the consumer. Then obviously, if there is other stuff that you need to do with government agencies, there are licenses that need to be reinstated. There is, again, insurance that needs to be reinstated. Utilities, someone is collecting on utilities, and then once you pay that off, the utility needs to be reinstated. So many of these things rely on another human moving a mouse and going and clicking a few things. All of those things machines can potentially do in the next 12 to 18 months, and those are the things that are on our roadmap. So no secret sauce. Anyone who's passionate about this future, we are hiring. We are also obviously looking for like-minded people to kind of discuss this with very openly.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, our organization is pretty heavy into the robotic process automation to solving some of those, at the simplest level, retrieving documents from portals or redacting, those types of things. And yeah, it's amazing once you start to dive in the amount of manual labor involved, tedious little steps.
For sure.
Yeah. I think going back to your omni-channel, I think that's really the goal of every agency out there, to have a true omni-channel. And it's more difficult than you'd think to accomplish currently without, proprietary, building your own in some cases, or cobbling together multiple vendors even can make it more challenging. But to add in the ability to make a truly seamless conversation across all channels, including voice, that would be pretty amazing. Is that's something that you're currently working on?
We are. In fact, all of this sits on what we call as the Prodigal Intelligence Engine, aka PI. And the PI essentially is the measure of all of your attributes that you know about your consumer. And these attributes themselves kind of come through a lot of these different applications. So Pro Insight, Pro Notes, Pro Assist, all make this digital persona that exists in PI richer. and they all cross-pollinate with each other. So again, if someone has consistently refused to RPC with the social security number, we don't want a pro agent to even ask them for a social security number if there is a alternative, so go for an alternative that is most comfortable for them. Different people have different things that they're okay with. Go to what the consumer is going to choose eventually. Just make it a super seamless experience. And we can only do that because all of this both derives actionable insights on top of our pie, which is our intelligence engine, and then in time kind of writes back and makes the pie better and leaves it in a better place. So very true. I think we kind of really invest very heavily in this, like the whole mathematics of it that I mentioned back when we started this podcast is all pie.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah. Okay. So essentially, you're able to the voice agent is able to have dynamic conversations based on previous interactions, and then
Yep.
that conversation, if someone goes into chat, is able. It's accessible.
It's accessible. It's
Yeah.
it's consistent. Like consumers should feel like it is consistent, and we are able to deliver that experience.
Yeah. Wow. That's really great. How far
Yeah.
away are you from having that be commercially available?
So it is commercially available. It is just not something which is used through a user interface. It is something that
Mm.
you use through a machine call, like an API call, or you would get the benefits of a smarter pro agent sitting on top of Pi. So Pi is a platform, and then the application that sits on top of Pi could be Pro Agent, Pro Notes, Pro Assist, Pro Insight, and so on and so forth. So the idea there is all of these things benefit from Pi, and so it is already available for them, for any
Okay.
customer. Yeah.
Okay. So are you do you have customers using Pro Agent that are not collection agencies, like actual creditors and lenders on a more
Yeah.
customer service? Okay, that's great.
Yeah. So we have a couple of BNPL lenders, pure play lenders use it for their internal post origination, but post origination servicing and collection operations. There's a lot of servicing in there as well. Yeah.
Okay. That's great. Well, we're coming up. We have a few minutes left. I like the comment that you made about being sometimes at the forefront, or when you're so close to technology that you take it for granted. I,
Yeah.
I think that people are really fascinated, one, by your product, and two, kind of about what it's like to be in a position like yours, where you're developing these products and owning these, owning an enterprise like you have. Can you tell us a little bit about, what a day in the life is like for you, and maybe
Yeah.
some advice for anyone looking to develop their own software platform?
So I think that's an excellent question. I think I met with Jensen Huang of NVIDIA last week, and
Very
someone
cool.
posed him a variant of this question, and he said, if I knew everything I had to do over the last 30 plus years, I would not have done it. So the good thing is that you always underestimate what it's going to take, but the rewards at the end of it are worth it. So to that extent, I think no 2 days are the same, but it is definitely a very very interesting role, especially because again a lot of three things are changing. Consumer behavior is just changing. Society as a whole is having different expectations about what lenders should do for them. The second is the macroeconomic environment is changing, especially in the last 5 years. The decade between 2008 to 2020, the 12-year period, I think it was somewhat steady. I think there's some much, things moved a little bit up here and there, but by and large, it was fine. The last 5 years have been a very much of a whiplash. Like, things were moving like, and then COVID hits and things veer one way, then they veer the other way, and so on. So it has made navigation through troubled waters more skillful, but also more fun. Arten Senna used to say, you can seldom overtake drivers on a Formula One circuit on a sunny day, but on a rainy day, it is very easy for a good driver to overtake 10 people. And that's what I'm banking or backing myself to do. So that's the second thing, which is the macroeconomic environment. And the third thing is technology. I mean, like honestly, like we started maybe within months of this original paper, the paper "Attention is All You Need" that was published by Google in late 2017. We started like within a few months of that. Now, we did not know the full implications of a lot of these research at that time, but we knew that it was changing. We knew that machines had the ability to compress a lot of data in a way that would eventually make more and more human-like. And with that kind of motivation, we started this. Even as recently as 2022, we were essentially building a different kind of architecture on our own systems. And then 2023 happened, and we basically had to wake up one day and said, let's not be prisoners of the sunk cost fallacy. We are proud of what we did when we did it based on what we knew then, but that's no longer relevant. Let's just replace with everything that's net new. And so that's what took us 2023 and maybe like the top half of 2024 to do. Reinvest in a lot of the new technological tooling and stuff. So that's the technological, and that itself is something that we continue investing a lot of money even in the next several years, because the markets are changing very quickly. But this particular thing is definitely going to be conceptually something that's going to be relevant for like at least a decade, and so we are very much invested in this wave all this while. So that's where we are, and all of those three things mean that you have to be constantly on your toes. But that's when it's the most fun to dance, when you're dancing on your toes.
Yeah, and I can tell you're passionate about it too. I can always tell when people are having fun doing what they do. It's a big part of it. Well, that's great. Tell our listeners how they can reach you if they're interested in having a conversation or in your product.
Absolutely. So look me up on LinkedIn. My first name, like last name, I think that's probably a very easy way to find. Or my email address is shantanu@prodigaltech.com. I look forward to hearing from everyone.
Yeah, that's great. We'll be sure to put your contact information on the show page as well. And pleasure. Yeah. Looking forward to connecting again soon.
Okay. I thank you so much for the opportunity, and then we'll take it from there.
All right. Thank you.